As we have reached the top of the hour, and welcome
Well,
to
thank you.
Going Pro, this week's Experts Academy Zoom session. And, I've got yourself, Brian Livingston. I've got Russell Kern, who's a consultant, who owns a consulting firm out in Westlake Village, California. I've got Michael Graham, who's already a CPE, a certified professional expert. But he comes from law enforcement. I've told you about him, Brian.
Yep.
And he was my guest on the Wisdom Parlor last week, which was very cool. We were talking about his background as a sniper, as a
Yes.
Ironman athlete, as a movie actor, as a patrol officer, as a sergeant, training people on the SWAT team. Talked about those things. It was fascinating. Welcome, 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 Christina Richter.
Thank
Christina,
you.
have
Hi.
you met Brian Livingston?
I have not. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Christina. Nice to meet you.
Brian's in
Thank
Edmonton,
you.
Alberta, Canada, and he has a company. His company fights traffic tickets for people, and he's built a company that's doing over 400,000 a year per location, doing that kind of support for people that have traffic tickets worth resisting. And so he's looking to franchise that and license it and, take it nationwide in Canada and potentially also in the US. And of course, he's a speaker, and, when he speaks, he wants to further that cause. And Christina's based in Anna, Texas, just north of Dallas.
Gotcha.
And she has been for several years a sales and management leadership consultant, doing extensive training and consulting for a variety of organizations nationwide, and does some pretty high ticket work. And
Nice.
she's been working with me. I've been working with her actually for a better part of a year now. We've been friends and colleagues for many years. And so she's part of the Experts Academy, and she is CPE, Certified Professional Expert, number 9 out of the first 22.
I saw her in the photos you were showing me.
Yep. She was in La Jolla at the summit. And Christina, I'm thrilled that the Hotel Ella just confirmed with me. So we're locked in. That's a go. And
Great.
yep. So how cool is that? Well, one of the things I want to put on record for this, because this is the beginning of another cohort for the newer people coming into the Experts Academy, the Going Pro process, is our Facebook page. And I'm going to do I'm going to open a Facebook page and then do a screen share just to show you what I'm talking about. Hang on just a second. Going Pro and back to screen share, not save, but share. Here we go. This, Brian, is our Facebook page for the Going Pro Mentor Program, and you can see all the folks lined up here in it, yourself included.
There we go.
And Christina included in that. Okay, so this it's got postings. I put in the post. Here's a posting from Jay Kami. He says, I just won my Toastmasters regional quarterfinals in the international speech contest. So that means that in Anaheim, he's in the semifinals and hopefully the finals, and hopefully also becomes the world champion of the international speech contest among 350,000 members of Toastmasters International. That's kind of a big deal. So good for Jay. And Jay has built a business doing amazing things, one of which is this. He creates and markets novelties like the Donald Trump talking figure. Check this out.
Fox and Friends in the morning, they're very honorable people. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
So it's, whether you like him or hate him, this is the sort of thing that can be used to support either side of that equation. And it's hilarious. It's a statue inside this of Donald Trump, and you push a button in the bottom and he's got like 20 different little short scripts
That's
that are
hilarious.
actual recordings of his voice. So Jay does things like that, and he also creates things like this. This is a birthday card.
Earlier this week, I understand you marked another important milestone. I know everyone here joins me in wishing you a very happy birthday.
Did you hear that? So
That's
anyway, Jay's a very creative guy, and he does all kinds of things, marketing online, and has built quite a substantial business. And he signed up with me because he wanted to get better as a speaker and get more focused in his business. So good for Jay. So anyway, we've got his posting there. And then I've got a posting on that Facebook page with all of the latest on the Expert Summit. But here's what I want you to notice, Brian.
Yep.
And Christina already knows about this. Under where it says Going Pro Mentor Program, it shows all those pictures. It
Yep.
says discussion, and then members, the members of the group,
Yep.
events, media, and files. Files is the one I want to draw your attention to.
Okay.
You've subscribed to the Professional Growth Acorns to Oak Trees program.
Yep.
All of the forms that go with that are in this file for download,
Okay.
plus a whole lot more. The 10 vital issues for bureaus that's listed here is a booklet I wrote for speakers bureaus, telling them how to resolve or deal with all the usual issues when booking a speaker. Issues come up like, if the client is paying a flat fee and that includes travel, can the travel be deducted before taking the percentage that the bureau keeps? Things like that. And then 50 Years of Speaking PDF is published by the National Speakers Association this year. And it has one-page messages, tips from all the Hall of Fame professional speakers from
Wow.
over the 50 years of the National Speakers Association. And there are tips on how to market yourself, speaking tips, audience reaction tips, every kind of tip you can imagine, including how to travel. And then scroll down way to the bottom and you'll find the Future You exercise is in here, and your passion and purpose statement, and a whole bunch more. But anyway, just explore that on
Okay.
your own time and see what's in there. Download the items that are relevant to you at your next stage,
Okay.
and work those exercises. Christina, I want to throw the mic over to you and have you give us any one of the three: what's new, what's next, what's needed in your world. Okay. So bring us
Okay.
up to date and/or tell us what you need.
Okay, so up to date, one of the things that's been really making a difference in what I bring of myself in my deliveries has been some breath work that I've been doing with Sage Rader, who was, Jim, the last meeting we had in San Diego. I met Greg, obviously through you, and Greg introduced me to this gentleman, Sage. And it has been pretty amazing as I watch when things come up in the room that are unexpected or that are not predicted and could very time constrained, et cetera. And then I I've been able to pause and even like take that deep breath and just relax, and it solves itself.
Ooh,
And
nice.
or it isn't as big of a deal.
Yeah.
Like somehow all of my outside world's been changing by me working on my inside, which shouldn't surprise either one of you. That's kind of like a universal law. But that's been really exciting to watch manifest. And of course, it's the ripples of the pool go toward my home, toward my relationships, toward everything else. So I think it's been very interesting, I guess, for me to focus more on how am I breathing as I speak, as
Yeah.
I present, as I'm working with individuals, and noticing how others breathe. So that's been that's kind of my new thing going on.
There's a man that you're going to meet sooner or later in this process named John Lin, Lin. He's from China. And John, well, he was born in China. He was raised in the USA. John's a mega successful guy. But he was introduced to me by Joe Willard, my mentor, who you've met, Christina, and he was at the Expert Summit. And Joe said, Jim, you and John need to know each other. Well, John's worth gazillions of dollars and has made it in Wall Street. He's made it in the movies. He's made it in all kinds of different ways. Well, when we met, we had a natural rapport. And John started going online and kind of checking me out, watching my YouTube videos and things like that. And he's been binging on it. And he said in a recent phone call, he said, Jim, he said, I've probably watched more Jim Cathcart than anybody on earth in the last 12 months. He said, when I'm watching you, I notice I start breathing like you. He said, I wonder how much of the audience is experiencing that same thing. But isn't that an interesting comment? He starts breathing like me, and he was aware of that. I mean, even I wasn't. But one of the pledges I make to my clients in advance of meetings is I tell them, in the event of an emergency, I promise to be the calmest person in the room. And they say, well, what do you mean by that? I say, well, if the building catches on fire, if a terrorist group intrudes into our meeting, if someone has a health emergency, if the lights go out, if there's a Dixieland band and a political rally in the next room and we can't hear anything, I will be the calmest person in the room. And since I have a microphone, I will take charge of doing the right thing to get us to safety. Oh, well, that's a relief. And with your breath work, you can make that same kind of pledge because you know how to assure that you've centered and gotten it together to be there for them. I like that. Is there a quick part of that technique you can teach us?
There is something called the sigh of relief, which is where, this probably comes fairly natural, but we don't necessarily do it consciously. But it's where you breathe, you take in air through your nose, and you just let it out through your mouth. And anytime you feel any tension, constriction, a negative thought because, my spouse didn't do it quite how they should have done it when I got it, all of that, you practice that relief breath, and it helps.
That's good. Yeah, it's also when the person doesn't fulfill their commitment, or the service technician doesn't show up on time, or forgot to do X or Y or Z, those things, I can see that. And that's very good. I love the name of it, sigh of relief, because what you're doing is relieving tension in the moment. I can certainly see that being used in a courtroom, can't you, Brian?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There are some times when I get very heated with the judge and with the prosecution and with the witnesses. So thank you, Christina. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that too, Jim, because Sage works with the law firm Statton out of New York. You probably know them, Brian. And he teaches their attorneys how to utilize breath when they're working with opposing counsel, when they're watching the jurors. It's fascinating. And a lot of it is science backed, right? A lot of what he does in the neuroscience space is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But you're so right to clue into the Jim, to the legal arena or the courthouse, 100%.
Well, it makes me think of Dr. Phil. He built his business analyzing which jurors would be good to have on the jury and which ones would not. And so he built a whole practice around that, actually had a TV series based on it, which was very enjoyable. But the one thing about Dr. Phil that I've enjoyed over the years, and I haven't watched him in probably 5 years, but I remember when he was doing his show just after he left Oprah, and he would interview people and they'd say, well, so-and-so doing this and doing it and doing, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this. And then he'd say, how's that working for you? And that's such a train stopper of a question. Well, it's not. Might want to rethink that, it just, how's that working for you? So when the other person starts their rant, usually they're not trying to convey information. They're trying to process an emotion. Let me say that again. When a person starts a rant, they're usually not trying to convey information. They're trying to express or process an emotion. So let them.
Okay.
To the extent that's practical and appropriate, let them. It's like I came in one time, my son had a problem and he confronted me about it. And I said, you're right, I was out of line. I handled that poorly and I apologized. And he's sitting there and he's all upset and he says, well, you did that too soon. I instantly went to apology and make it right. And he was right. I did not allow him to vent enough to where he could accept the apology, because he was still in the mode and he needed to at least finish the paragraph before I came back with I'm sorry, I was out of line, right? So knowing that rhythm and seeing and recognizing that rhythm can be huge. And as you said, it starts with us. Be conscious of your own breathing. Be conscious of what's going on with you and learn how to manage it. Then you can do it with others. Coincidentally, I just found this note a few minutes ago, and it's a note from back at the beginning of the COVID crisis. Okay. My son, as you know, CPE number 14, by the way, my son, Jim Cathcart Jr., has been for 26 years the head of human resources for one or another Four Seasons hotel in California. And more recently, he's been a resort manager. And now then he's working in the Los Angeles Four Seasons doing consulting work. But at the top of COVID, he was in Westlake Village as HR director. And I asked him, I said, what has the Four Seasons said to tell your people about the crisis we're in? He said, well, the first fear people have in a crisis is they're going to lose their jobs, and that their safety net is now gone. And of course, as we all know in retrospect, during COVID, they did. Everybody lost their jobs in COVID, me included, because my clients weren't there to be able to hire me. We may have lost it only in a pause, but some people lost it altogether.
Yep.
Luckily for the people working at the Four Seasons actually cares about their employees. What a concept.
Novel.
So this is a summary of what the the hotel company told my son to do back in 2020. They said in a crisis, and this applies not just to COVID, but to any kind of a crisis, like an economic recession or something like that. Number one, and this is in order of importance. Number one, listen. Don't start solving the problem. Listen. Let the people express the problem. And if they can't express it, they're going to feel they weren't understood, even if you understood them. So listen, let them express what they think the concerns are, okay? Number two, don't be the guy or the gal who is the universal problem solver. Don't try to be the savior on a white horse that just rode in to rescue everybody. Allow them to talk. That's number three, which goes with number one, of course. Number four, make room for their feelings. Don't try to say, don't be concerned. No, don't worry. There's no reason to get upset. Don't. Just let their feelings exist and be in the room without any judgment or labeling attached to them, whether they were good or bad, too strong or too weak or whatever. Okay. So listen, don't be the savior. Allow them to talk, make room for feelings. Next, anticipate likely reactions. So going into the meeting, if you know people are concerned, afraid, whatever, angry, anticipate what their reactions are going to be when you do what people would typically do. Well, now, Brian, there's four things that need to be considered in a situation like this. Number one, number two, three, four. Then what you're doing is you're just going into seminar teacher mode or educator mode and expecting them to listen. They're not going to listen. Their feelings are too strong. So anticipate their feelings, their reactions. And instead of slipping into that mode, be absolutely sure they got it, that you heard. Not just heard their words, but understood what the feelings were that were attached to the words. Next, if it's helpful, bring in experts, which could be quoting an expert, could be adding an expert to the mix in a Zoom meeting, could be bringing someone into the room, could be deferring to an expert, could be opening a book and quoting an expert, but rely on expertise beyond your own, which goes back again to don't be the guy or the gal trying to save everything. Nor should you be the educator, the news commentator that's telling them what they ought to understand. Because again, you're still in the mode of, I understand you, I understand your feelings. It's certainly justifiable that you would feel that way. Now let's look at what we can do about this, okay? Next, do not try to solve the whole problem in one meeting. What's the first goal of the first meeting?
Listen and gather information.
Yep. And why would you listen and gather information?
Well, until you can identify what the problem is, how can you solve it?
Okay. And why would you want to identify what the problem is?
Because then you can try and solve it.
Here's what I'm trying to lead you to.
I'm not getting there.
Get them to feel that you understand, you care, and you're willing to do something that's right.
Okay.
Understand, care, and you're willing to do what's right. Okay? Understand, care, and willing to do what's right. That's from me. That's not from the list.
No, that's still
And
good.
so don't try to solve the problem in one meeting. It's kind of like on a brand new sales call, which people call cold calls, which I think is the wrong word. because it doesn't have to be cold. It's just a new call or first
Yep.
call. So just make it a new call or a first call. What's the goal of the first call? Find out if there's a sale to be made. If there's not, don't try to sell.
Yep.
Thank them and say, next, right? So what's the goal of first call? Determine the need and opportunity so that you can go to meeting number 2 or begin the process of number 2 while you're in number 1, right? So achieve the first things first. First thing is to cause them to feel cared about, understood, and in good hands, safe hands, right? And so the final step in this, know the best next steps. That's it. There's the short course in crisis management. And that can be done between couples, one-to-one. That can be done in groups. That can be done in teams. You know, let's say it's a sports scenario. Team comes in at halftime and they're down. They expected to be ahead. Well, the first thing you're going to do is start telling them you can do it. Let's all say, I think I can, I think I can. No. First thing you do is listen. Let them tell you what they think's going on. Then take corrective action. And then give them a new shot of intellectual adrenaline and send them back out for the second half. But without the listening process, it's just kind of like go over to the sideline and have somebody tell you they love you. Okay. Hey, anybody here love you? Yeah, I do. Okay, good. Thanks. I'm back in. Put me in, coach. Nope. No help. Right.
Yep.
So the whole process there is about Stephen Covey's seek first to understand, then to be understood. Right. But it's about feeling understood. It doesn't matter if you understand them. If they don't feel understood, you don't understand them. You might understand their state, but not their status. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I've never said it that way before, but I kind of like the way that works. State and status, you know, the state might be a state of fear, but status is open to new ideas or in a status of flight versus fight.
Yep.
You know, so state and status. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to let that sink in and maybe hang on to that little phrase. Okay. How can we help you, Christina? What can we do? What's needed that Brian and I and others can help you with in the coming weeks?
I can't think of anything specific.
Well,
Yeah, I can't-
something I'd like to give you as a homework assignment is a
Okay.
reflection. You remember on the workbook for the summit, there's me on the deck of a river cruise in the Yangtze River Valley. And the whole caption of that ought to be take time to reflect, because that's what I was doing. I was just thinking about what we had done that day and what was coming next for my class that were enrolled there. I had an experts academy I was doing in China, and my agent, Dr. David Chu, took the picture. But here's your assignment. Reflect on the past better part of a year that we've been working together, all these different exercises you've done, and where you've made an alteration or a shift, like things as simple as the wall calendar next to you, or different approaches to how you articulate what is your brand, what do you do, you know, what are the problems you solve for people that are worth paying to make them go away, those kind of things. Just kind of thumb back through leisurely the notes from all this process and do a status check and identify the remaining questions. Because I want us over the next month and change to really get you some closure on the things that you need the most. And without that review, we might miss some of the things that are relevant to the mix.
Okie dokie.
Cool. Brian, would you do a quick reflection on your experience with the Acorns to Oak Trees videos?
Sure.
Because you're new to the process and you're coming at it from a very high level like Christina did. But your experience is unique to you. So far, tell us about your experience.
Well, you absolutely blew my mind with the, you know, what service do I actually provide to people? Because for 2 decades, I literally been telling people I fight traffic tickets, right? That's what I do. I knew how to push people's pain points, right? But I never presented that the fact of what I do is I actually really save jobs, I save houses, I save, you know, like all sorts of things. I save them thousands of dollars. Like, so I'm not actually fighting a traffic ticket. That's the end result.
Yeah.
But the service that I provide is peace of mind for all of these different issues. I've literally had people throughout the years be like, if we lose this case, I lose my kids. Right?
Yeah.
So it's about the kids. It's not about the ticket.
Yeah.
Right? And so that just like my mind just was like, I've been approaching this wrong for 2 decades in terms of my offer. I close at a very high rate.
Yeah.
But you know, I need to just make sure my mind is always aware of what I'm really doing.
And by the way, the same is true for everyone on your team. When they don't remember that why, then they are forced by nature to focus only on the how. And people who know how may have a job, but the one who knows why is always their leader.
That's
So-
awesome. I
So
gotta
the
write-
leader's job is to keep the why alive in people.
Yeah.
You know, the reason Army units have a flag is because that reminds them of the greater picture, that they're part of something bigger and more substantial than a group of people dressed in olive green with weapons. They're here to defend democracy, or they're here to defend a way of life, or to bring freedom to people, or to whatever. But that's why the flag is there. And so that's why over the years, it's been over the eons and generations, it's been so important to capture the flag of the opponent or to take down the opponent's flag, right?
Yep.
So because of what it represents, not because of the fact that it's there. Why would it be important for children in school, specifically the United States, but it apply to Canada as well, to say the Pledge of Allegiance each morning? Because it's just a poem. Or is it? No, it's a statement of a belief system, a succinct statement of a belief system that when reinforced daily, you can say, yeah, it becomes rote. However, it leaves a very deep, indelible imprint. So when I was a kid growing up, every morning, we'd face the flag, we'd put our hand over our heart, and we would say, I pledge allegiance, not we pledge allegiance, or allegiance would be a good idea. You know, no, it's I pledge allegiance to this flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands. One nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. you could say, yeah, but that's, it's kind of like da 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 da. Excuse me, if you say it again and again and again and again, it leaves an imprint, whether you meant for it to or not. I was at I've mentioned this to others, Catholic service one time. I'm not Catholic, but I was there for a memorial service. And I noticed one of the sisters, one of the nuns, was reciting the rosary, but doing it as if she were taking inventory of office supplies. All right, 24 boxes of pencils, 3 rolls of cellophane tape, and we got 2 colored markers. Mother Mary, full of grace, and it just went, and I just thought, shame on you. Man, if you're not going to feel it, don't even do it. And you could say I just contradicted what I said earlier.
Oh.
Maybe there is some contradiction in those 2 descriptions, the pledge to the flag and the rote version of the rosary. But at the same time, a whole lot of other people in that church were saying the rosary as if they were having a private conversation with God. Big difference. So as we state our purpose, it needs to connect. My company used to have a mission statement that would get an A in mission statement class. I mean, it was a really good mission statement. Our mission is to develop and effectively market an ever-improving line of top-quality products and services designed to enhance business people's effectiveness in the areas of sales, leadership, and communication. Ooh. That was it. And it hung over the copier. And you've heard this, Christina. And Susie worked in my office. And it hung over the copier because I wanted everybody to see it every day. And so one day, just on a whim, I said, Susie, what's our mission? She said, that thing that hangs over the copier. I said, well, yeah, but what does it say? She said, I don't know. You don't? You see it every day. Yeah, but it's too long. Light bulb, too long. So if Susie doesn't get it, and she's my personal assistant, Carolyn may not get it, and Joanne may not get it, and et cetera, for the rest of my staff. So we sat down as a group and reworded it to this. Our mission is to make life better for people profitably.
It's easier to remember.
Yeah. And I hung that over the copier. And anybody I asked at a moment's notice, if I said, what's our mission? They'd say to make life better for people profitably. Then I had another question. How does what you do make life better? And for whom? And is that a profitable use of our time and energy? So everybody could look at their job. If your job was supplying data to Carolyn so Carolyn could make marketing decisions, then your customer was Carolyn. And your product was the data. But the data didn't matter. It was the purpose of the data. So if the data wasn't accurate, Carolyn made bad decisions. If Carolyn made bad decisions, we lost money or wasted money. So everybody in the company, although there weren't many of us, knew how what we did made life better and for whom it made it better. And we knew whether that was a profitable use of our energy and resources or not. We also knew what Jim does is brings inspiration and information and how-to proven methods to people so that they can make their own lives better. And he gets paid for doing it, and that's our profitability. So I knew my mission was helping people grow, which was the overall company mission. And that I knew that in 1976 and put it on my letterhead and everywhere, in all my materials. So helping people grow has always been it. And my message has always been, underlying message has been the same. How do you do that? Help people become more of what they already are, the best of what they already are, so they get better results from being and doing it. Become the person who would achieve your goals, and the goals you want will come along as part of the process. They'll be your natural byproduct. Don't develop the traits, just work on the goals, and you might reach them, but you can't stay there because you didn't develop the qualities that would keep you at the higher level. Be the person you need to be. And then the daily question comes back. What's the daily question? How would the person I'd like to be do the things I'm about to do? So that it's seamless with the acorn metaphor, with nature, which means what's already in you, with the daily question about becoming, about being the person, the best person that you're capable of being, all of that absolutely consistent. And so as I've been thinking recently, what do? I came to that you saw on my Facebook the other day. I do one thing. I'm a mentor to expert-based businesses. I help experts live a more abundant life. John 10:10. I've come that they would have life and have it more abundantly. That's my mission. So it's seamless, top to bottom, side to side, front to back. And that's what I want for you, is for you to think through everything you do from every perspective imaginable and keep coming back to, what am I really paid to do? What you're really paid to do, Brian, is bring people peace of mind, put them back in a position of safety and strength so they can go forward boldly, take away the threat to their life and livelihood and even their own emotions. And likewise, Christina, when you're bringing the solutions and the insights that you bring to an audience or to an organization, the way they should be able to tell you've been there is not by seeing any evidence of you, but seeing that their people are more capable now, more confident now, more focused now, and more productive in their choice of which items to focus on. How did that happen? Christina was here. Oh, can Christina come to my place? Sure. Just get your checkbook. Meet me at the corner. Cool.
And Jim, I think something you said earlier, it doesn't contradict. It's two things that I've experienced as kind of universal laws. So when you were talking about saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and that regardless of how you feel about it, it does get embodied. That's about that subconscious, right? The subconscious doesn't care whether you believe it or not. It's going to believe what you tell it and the words that it hears. So that's true. And what is also true is the nuns who were, or maybe it wasn't nuns, the people that were saying the rosary with feeling, having feeling in it will give you much higher results and manifestation inside and outside versus no feeling.
Totally. Which goes back to Think and Grow Rich and John Mitchell. John Mitchell, Brian, is a colleague of mine here in Austin, self-made multimillionaire who has a company called Think It, Be It. And he's discovered that the secret to Think and Grow Rich that's never articulated in the book is a pretty simple, clear one. And he says, what you visualize on a daily vividly visualize is not his exact words, on a daily basis with feeling will tend to manifest in your life. And so he's got a system, a 12-minute daily system that he uses and has taught others to use, that he calls Think It, Be It. And the key to that is what Christina was just saying. It's the feeling. If it's just, listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere, then you're reciting words. But unless somebody stops to think about it, they're not going to feel that. Take the same words. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man's now alive that remembers that fateful day and year. He said to his friend, if the British march, now the difference in those two deliveries is night and day, right? Same words, but one of them was infused with feeling. I was, as I delivered it, trying to live it, mean it, instead of just say it, right? The other one trying to get an A in class. Give me my A, right? So take a look at the feeling factor and infuse that into everything you do. And on a daily basis, what you reinforce with feeling starts to become more intense, more real, deeper, more sincere over time. We used to, at the Junior Chamber of Commerce, JC's, I was involved from 1972 until 1977. And I went from brand new member of a local chapter that was being formed that night in 72 in Little Rock, Arkansas. A guy who had never given a speech, run a meeting, led a project, nor received an award of any type, including a certificate, except high school diploma. Never gotten a pin, a sticker on my forehead, never been acknowledged as, wow, you did it, Jim, okay? I joined a chapter in 72 in Little Rock when I'm a clerk at the Housing Authority. And 5 years later, I'm the director of leadership training for 356,000 people nationwide, flying around the country, giving speeches to thousands at a time, and writing manuals. That first manual I wrote there sold 76,000 copies while I was there. Wow. In a 5-year period? Are you kidding me? That's a complete transformation. Every JC's meeting, from the first one I went to in 72 till the final one when I left the staff and became a full-time speaker, every meeting, no exceptions, started and ended with the recital of the JC Creed. So we reinforced our mission, vision, values, purpose, and belief system twice every time we assembled. And listen to the creed. I believe that faith in God gives meaning and purpose to human life. That the brotherhood of man transcends the sovereignty of nations. That economic justice can best be won by free men through free enterprise. That government should be of laws rather than of men. And that Earth's great treasure lies in human personality, and service to humanity is the best work of life. Now you say that 300 times a year, it's going to make an imprint. You're either going to reject it and say, this is not for me, or you're going to embrace it and say, you know what? That's actually true. And so at every JC's meeting, which was a leadership training meeting, every meeting on every level, everywhere, if you were going to give a 5-minute speech as part of the learning to be a good speaker, we had kind of a Toastmasters track that we followed called Speak Up JC. If you were going to give a speech, it had to be about one of the lines of the creed. Now you could talk about anything from raising dogs to cleaning up the creek near the high school, but it had to be about one of the lines of the JC's creed. So everything we did, top to bottom, side to side, front to back, reinforced the belief system that belief in a creator matters. Doesn't matter which religion you have, but believing in a creator matters. That this isn't about countries. All people are brothers and sisters worldwide, right? That free enterprise is the best way to get things, et cetera. But pretty powerful stuff. So if you're looking for how to imbue your own organization or your client's organization with a stronger sense of purpose, with a zeal for getting out there and getting it done, go back to the fundamentals. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And then tell them the truth. So what have you pulled out of all this today? Give me some highlights of what you got, not what I said, what you got, because your notes are more important than my outline would have been if I had one.
I absolutely loved the, when like, I know it's what you said, but when you lose focus on the why, then you just work on the how. And
Yeah.
how, as a leader, we need to be continually reminding the people of why we do it, not what we do.
Excellent. Christina?
I needed the reminder about not worrying about the traits and being much more concerned about who am I being in this moment, and am I being the person that would do X, achieve X, provide this type of service? Am I being that? Because the more I be that, like you said, the outcome or the byproduct of me being that is the success.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to what Brian said about the why and the how, when a person forgets the why, they become a bureaucrat. And a bureaucrat is ruled by the rules, the process. You didn't fill in the second box. Well, that's because I don't own a company and it called for the name of my, you have to fill in the box. But I don't have a company, I can't put it in the box. Sir, maybe you didn't hear me. You have to fill in the box. They don't care about why the form matters, who it goes to next. They are so process oriented as to be in love with their little process. Let's you and me do the process. Okay. Don't skip anything. This is going to be great. No, not. It's going to be boring, but at least you'll have a sense of closure, right? So when you encounter someone in a bureaucrat mode, recognize that until you remove their anxiety about a step in the process not being followed properly, they are incapable of understanding anything further. Not unwilling, absolutely not able. It is a roadblock to their intellect. I had a guy one time laid out a bunch of photographs for me. My wife had taken our little son to Kmart for a special, get a family photograph made, get a portrait made, and get a free 8x10. Okay, because they know you're going to buy the wallet size and the 5x7s and everything else. All right. So I come into town from a speaking engagement, and there's a sticker on the front door of the house. It says, Jim, go by Kmart and pick up the photos and then come meet me at my sister's. Because Jimmy's with me and we're over there, we're having dinner there tonight. So I come in town, drop off my luggage. I take the coupon, I go to Kmart. I go to the photo department, and there's this guy with one of these little, I wish I had a mustache, but I don't, things on his upper lip, just a little kind of a wisp of someday I'll have a mustache. And he had a tie that came to about here, and a belly. And he would, Mr. Peepers, he looked like someone that maybe his aunt had dressed him on her way out the door, right? So he's standing there and I come up and I say, excuse me, I need to redeem this coupon. And he doesn't say a word. He takes the coupon and he disappears under the counter and he's rummaging through folders and he gets my photos. He hadn't said a word to me. And he lays out all these photos and there's 2 poses. That's nice. And there's an 8x10, there's 5x7s and wallet size of each pose. And I said, wow, that's cool. What's the deal? He said, you get this 8x10 free. The 5x7s are, I'm making this up, $37.95, and the wallet size, you get 18 of those for $40 more. And if you do it for both of them, you get the whole package for, make a number, $95. And I said, well, okay, I'll take the 8x10 of this pose and the wallet size of that pose. He said, no. I said, what do you mean? He said, you can't do that. I said, sure I can. I have money, you have photos, let's trade. He said, no. I said, why? He said, that's not how it works. And then he told me the exact same thing he just told me a moment ago. So he's back in his mode again, right? We skipped a box. You didn't check it, so I got to start at the beginning. Notice that I'm still not greeting you. Okay. And he goes through his deal. And I said, look, I heard you the first time, and I appreciate that, you clarified. I'm not willing to buy the whole package. And I don't want to buy just one. I said, what will you do if I don't buy these? He said, I will destroy them. As if he looked forward to it. And I said, and how much money will that make? He didn't understand the question. I said, okay, look. Once again, I have money and I will pay you the money if you give me the photos I want, but I will not pay for the others, and you get to destroy the others. That'll teach me. And he said, no. So I took the one photo and left. Okay. I didn't understand how to deal with him. First off, he was incapable of solving that problem because he didn't feel he had the authority to even make a slight exception, let alone a major one, like I was suggesting, right? So I was talking to the wrong guy. I'd have to go to someone that understood a little bit of the why we do this to earn a profit in order to get a deal made. Same thing's true when you are on the phone with somebody and you say, hey, we no longer get HBO. I want to get that channel back. No, your package is the deluxe package and you got to upgrade to yeah, but I don't want all that. You got to get out of that loop in order to get to a solution. And the loop you need to get out of requires someone that understands and cares about why. I ended up in one like that with AT&T one time, telephone. They had been charging my account after I canceled my number for 8 months. They had taken $1,347 from me and provided nothing. When I challenged them about it, they said, well, yeah, you canceled, but you didn't officially disconnect. And so our electrical impulse was still going to your curb, even though the curb didn't connect to your house anymore. So we were doing our part, so we're due the money. So I went up the line until I got to the supervising supervisor of the supervisors. And he literally said to me, "You're right, and I don't care." So I knew I'd ended that dialogue. Take the loss and either go to court or get on with your life, right? But usually somewhere up that food chain, and by the way, I'll never go back to AT&T, though my dad worked for them for 35 years. Somewhere up that food chain, you're going to encounter a person that cares, that understands the why. And that's where the problems can be resolved. So I hope that's just a helpful reminder of mentalities and how to break through and how to apply that sigh of relief to get you to the next stage. All right, we're done for today. I appreciate you both being here. I will post this on Facebook so Russell and Michael and some of the others who are enrolled can see it there. And reach out anytime you need me. I'm here for you, okay? Oh, and read all the details about Hotel Ella and the September event, because that is going to be a really fun event. And I've got lots of things coming that I haven't even mentioned yet.
Awesome.
All right.
Christina, you there?
Yeah, I'm gonna go, Brian. It's incredible. I really hope you can make it.
Oh, I'm there. I'm
Good. Good. It's gonna be wonderful to meet you in person too.
awesome. That'll be great. Sorry it took an extra minute, Jim. I apologize.
No worries, no worries. We're not on that tight of a leash. Okay, take care.
And Jim, am I gonna be talking with you in a few minutes?
Yes, you are. Yeah,
Okay,
same.
I'm gonna, pardon me, same login? Okay, just give me 5
Okay.
minutes if you
Yep.
would. Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye, Christina.